Welcome to the Creative Chats Podcast with Mike Brennan. Welcome, friends, to another episode of Creative Chats. It's the podcast for artists, makers, and content creators where we talk about creativity, the creative process, and story. I'm your host, Mike Brennan. You can check out some of my work on my website, which is mikebrennan.me. And while you're over there, I would love for you to visit the Daily Creative Habit tab. And on that page, you will find all sorts of resources created with you in mind. Because I love to create resources for fellow creatives. I know what it's like to struggle with consistency. I know what it's like to struggle to try to monetize your creativity. I know what it's like to feel alone in all the things that you're doing while you're creating and wondering, is anyone else experiencing some of these things? And the answer is yes. So I've created resources like this podcast, like the Daily Creative Habit Journal, which is a 90-day self-guided journal for you to track and measure what you're doing creatively so that you can keep showing up and actually get some traction and movement and progress. And then there's other things available there as well, like the Daily Creative Habit Facebook group and the Daily Creative Habit membership. I would love to come alongside you in any way possible and help you on your creative journey. Now, for today's episode, I get to sit down with a local artist friend of mine, Heidi Schwartz. Heidi is a live painter, and I've really enjoyed getting to know her, seeing her work, seeing her live in action. And her work is not only amazing, but also just, I love this conversation because she's willing to share not just her journey and her story and how her art and her being an artist has evolved, but also like things like using art to process and how we evolve as artists with our craft as well as our interests, our voice. The ability to just sit and have this conversation today was just such an amazing thing. And it's a gift. And I know you're going to enjoy this conversation with Heidi. And regardless if you are a visual artist, a painter, maybe you're a musician, maybe you're a baker, maybe you're a creative entrepreneur, there's always something that we can learn from somebody else's journey and context. So I invite you to lean in, to listen, and hear some of the amazing things that Heidi has to share with us today. So without further ado, here is my creative chat with Heidi Schwartz. Well, Heidi, welcome to the Creative Chats podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to be here. Yes. So you are a local artist here to the Nashville area, and I have enjoyed getting to know you and seeing your work and seeing you in action, live painting, just some incredible work, and love the passion you bring to your work and the creativity. And so I can't wait to get into all the things that are Heidi today.
All right, let's do it.
Yes. So, the question I always like to open with is thinking back to childhood, and perhaps there's a specific creative activity that you did that really sticks out to you, or maybe a project or some experience you had around creativity. Is there something that comes to mind when I ask you that question?
About a specific childhood activity, I think probably the most prominent thing of my childhood activity that relates to creativity is spacing out. No, I was a pretty big daydreamer. I was living in my head a lot. I think, that's probably where the ideas are born, and fantasy and like the love of beautiful things. We kind of go in our minds and embellish what we like. If you have a big imagination. So I did spend a lot of time alone in my room. It was very dreamy. I was like the classic ADD little girl that was always just like, huh?
Yes.
So no, I was, drawing and listening to music and all of that stuff and playing music. But yeah.
So do you think that were you aware that like you were developing, say, like an inner voice at an early age? No, it was just kind of something that naturally happened.
Yeah, I don't think I even thought. I didn't have like any fancy, we had a conversation earlier. I don't think I had any fancy preconceived notions about creativity or that title or anything like that. Truly, I was very attracted to pretty things and, escaping. And I don't think it was any consciousness of development. No, not at all.
Yeah.
All that stuff came later with kind of discovering who I am. And I honestly don't think I really understood. I'm going to talk out of two sides of my mouth. I don't think I really understood that I was an artist until like I was an adult, moved out, like what the magnitude of like how big of a piece that was of myself. My mom did find a thing in high school that I wrote, like a paper saying basically what my journey has been, which I was like, I'm going to move to Nashville and become a singer. And if that doesn't work out, I'm going to become a painter. I literally wrote it. It's like when I was 15 or 16, which is hilarious. So I think I had some vague inner compass, but in terms of titles of what that really meant and like understood it, I think we're just kind of attracted to things. We're like, we don't know, but I like it, that kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
So
It just seems like a natural, instinctual thing sometimes,
I
right?
think I think kind of maybe the truest things are kind of primal. We don't have a conversation around it. It's just is. And I think that place of creativity, if we're really like, I mean, it is just pure instinct. We can do training and do all the gloss, but if you don't have the instinct for it, who cares? Yeah.
So the thing that brought you to Nashville was going to school here and you were pursuing music, right?
Mm.
What was it about pursuing music that seemed like it was a doable thing or like the right next step for you? And did you receive support in that in terms of like, this is the direction you're heading in?
It's always good to have a champion. My mom has 1,000% always believed in me, whatever I wanted to do. She's like, yeah, if you want it, I know you can do it. And I believed her,
Yeah.
which is great. That's a luxury. I don't think a lot of creative kids have that. I think there's a lot of pressure. So, yeah, I think, wait, what was your question?
Well, like you pursuing music and like if you
Pursuing
had
music,
support and
yeah.
yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Pursuing music. Did I think it was realistic? No, I didn't have a thought about realistic. I don't think I lived in reality. So no, I was just like, this is what I'm doing. And I was pretty focused on it, and I did a lot of extreme things to get to Nashville and to get to where I was, to Belmont, like including I went to two colleges at once to like make up for my grades in high school in order to like get to Belmont at a certain time because I was obsessed. So I just get obsessed with things, and when I have that kind of laser focused almost or hyper focused, that kind of becomes all consuming. And I have realized that is probably the biggest driver of why I am where I am right now is because of that component of my personality, which is totally separate of creativity, really. I mean, maybe it can be in conjunction because you get obsessed with like ideas and beauty and that's a place you live, but like there's almost another engine that drives. And that piece, I feel like, in terms of doing creative work for a vocation and what you want, you really do have to have another component that's like, I want to do this and I'm fucking move out of my way.
Yeah. Tenacity, right? Yeah.
Tenacity, I guess, is the word. Yes. Thank you. All right. We could just sum it up that way. Yep.
So then you're in your story as this thing unfolds here. You're there and then you have the opportunity to do painting, right? And a live painting. Like walk through a little bit like how did this
Mm.
come about?
How did my
Live
live
painting.
painting evolve? Well, so I did move here for music. And when the first summer I was here, I was very isolated, very alone. And I started painting prolifically in my room and like my dorm room and college apartment and whatever. And it was like kind of ridiculous, like overtaking everything. It was it looked like a scene from maybe A Beautiful Mind or something like that. People would come over and be like, whoa, what's going on? So from that, just little people would be like, here, you should do this group show. There was this group called Untitled Nashville here in Nashville that had these group shows. I started doing that. I got an opportunity to do an solo art show at DreamWorks at one point because they saw my, I mean, it was just like these little trickle things. And from that, I was still pursuing my music. was doing music, and then I was doing art, and then I kind of was songwriting, and then I started collaborating my ideas together to make like song paintings. And from that, I ended up making an album with all of these songs and song paintings. And I was just surviving in Nashville like every musician, artist, person does. And I auditioned to sing on the General Jackson, which is with Opryland Hotel here in Nashville. And they asked me to, they saw my, and you were like, yeah, yeah, nice voice and all, but I mean, there's a shit ton of singers here. So they're like, I got a call a couple weeks later because they saw my paintings, because of my song paintings. And then I got asked to paint live at a dinner. And it was the most random thing. I was pretty much, I mean, obviously I was kind of doing painting just for me. It was almost like this private artistic thing. And I mean, and then I was incorporating and utilizing it in music as like ideas and stuff, kind of as a base. But that evolved into where I was able to, it just organically evolved into this whole thing. So I wasn't pursuing it. It was like something that was kind of pouring out of me. And then I just kept a mentor mindset. It kind of pursued me in a way. I mean, it truly was like primal, kind of raw stuff that I was just doing because that's what I was turning to. It was very comforting to me. So yeah, it was totally coming from that place, if that
So
makes
that
sense.
first opportunity, was there a voice in you that was like objecting to this at all and kind of going like, I don't really know how to do this in this way, or this has always been for me, so now I got to bring it out to other people, like that kind of thing? Like, did you wrestle through that?
There's only a couple of times when I wrestled with like even selling my paintings in the beginning because I just really didn't. I liked giving them. I liked, making them for somebody and whatever. But then once I got over that, um, I think the live painting in particular, I did have a concept. There was a moment where I was like, this is kind of cheesy. And I didn't want to be like some kind of clown artist, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a conversation, or I think in my head, around what an artist is. Once you get your ego around that stuff, sometimes those labels get really difficult to dodge. But I think once I think the bigger piece though, the primal thread of the work I was doing, I realized that I liked it. And I realized there was something in it that was very gratifying towards, and organically gratifying towards me, and how I process things. And the intensity of it was really good. The kind of the intensity and the focus and the pressure weirdly works well with my personality, and also the interaction of people. I enjoy that energy. So, and when you have a pressure, sometimes you really have to focus in terms of like there's no overthinking, so you just go and you do. And I really didn't have, like, especially around the live of painting segment, I didn't have expectations on it. I thought it was kind of hokey, so maybe in that way, because I did think it was kind of hokey, I wasn't taking myself so seriously. So I think maybe that was a luxury without knowing it, because then I was just like, I'm gonna just do this thing. People don't like it, don't call me. So that piece, I think, really was maybe a gift. And so there created a freedom. And I think, if anything, art and creativity just needs some, like, a safe, free place to like really be born. Otherwise we're kind of just trying to fit in somebody else's lines and looking to the left and looking to the right. And that's not that exciting. You're not really making anything. You're crafting, which is a different thing than art, I
Yeah.
think. So,
When you're in that space and you're creating live, what's going on inside of you? Like, can you walk a little through like the process maybe of like, you know, whatever prep you've done before the event, and then you're at the event, and then like, are you are you primarily concerned with diving into your artwork and creating that process, or are you trying to make sure that you're kind of divided so that you're dealing, with people and you're interacting, and then you're also able to focus and actually accomplish the painting? You know what I mean? Like, those are two different things that are happening probably simultaneously, right?
yeah, I feel like I think it's really special because for me, I mean, I mentioned the spacing out and the inner, like the daydreaming thing. It's a unique opportunity to integrate that inner world with the outer world. And it's a very, I don't think I've ever experienced anything else in terms of being able to connect my imagination with that kind of peace. And also, yes, I will engage with people, but I go in and out of my head, which is kind of cool. It's really been like separate of art. It has really been like healing for me as a person, to like learn how to ground myself. And in a lot of ways, like I feel like that's been the biggest gift for me, and learning how to ground myself, but also like I can be a part of life and what's going on around me and share who I am truly internally. It's cognitive, but it's not. And I think the special piece is that I'm not calculating. I'm like genuinely just in it. It takes all of my senses to be there. And also, I am going in my head and pulling things out, but I'm also really paying attention because I want to grab it. So it's like weaving both of these worlds together. And I don't know if that makes any sense. I hope it does. But
Yeah, no, it does. And it's interesting to hear your take on that because when I'm in a situation and I'm creating live, right? Like I do live event sketches, but it's on an iPad and
yeah,
I'm looking for the experience to storytell around.
yeah, yeah,
Typically, like people ask me sometimes about like, well, what's happening internally when you're doing that? And I'm like,
yeah,
there's like a million things that are happening
sure.
because
Yeah,
I'm listening, I have to pay attention, and especially if it's like somebody who's a speaker on stage and I'm listening for a quote that I have to write or whatever. And then I'm
mm,
also dealing with layers in this program and
mm-hmm.
the actual facility of drawing and creating the thing. And then I'm like, and trying to stay in the moment because if something else happens, I want to be aware and able
It's
to
very
to
similar.
pivot quickly to,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
things are happening very fast
Yep.
and having to learn some shortcuts around some things so that you
Yeah.
can navigate that space sometimes is interesting.
Yeah.
And then interestingly enough, like I just did a live painting last week and I haven't done like with acrylic and a canvas, and I haven't done that in probably 10, 15 years. And that was something that was a completely different process and
Really.
experience for me because my goal was to have fun and kind of like what you said, like, don't overthink, just be there. And so much so that, like, and I don't have a process around this, and maybe that's a gift, but I basically dumped a whole bunch of stuff on the table and just started grabbing things and applying. And like, I had rollers, I have like a toothbrush for like little splatter things, and I've got like all this like creative chaos that's happening, which is very different than a methodical, planned out approach of the other stuff. So giving me a different live experience was informing me, saying there's no right or wrong way to do this. It
No.
really just seems like whatever, going back to what you said before, the primal, the intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's what we need to tap into and pay attention to, right?
I think that's the thread of things that have authenticity and the things that probably really touch people. I think we talked about Rick Rubin, and he's a big fan, and it's been such a good reminder his take on things. It's about actually focusing on the artist and the artist doing what they organically they do, and by proxy you're actually serving better a greater good because you're being honest. And I think it's hard for people to be honest, like genuinely honest. And I think art creates an opportunity for us to be honest in a beautiful way. So, and it's kind of like a sugar pill, right? Like you can take some of the honesty and like some of the raw emotion of things. And if we make it beautiful, at least like you can like handle it a little better. And I mean, it's like, and I have said this before as well, like it is the ultimate metamorphosis, and it's kind of a magic trick, of like art, to be able to do things like that, create things that are difficult and like ugly emotions and make them beautiful, but also celebrate beautiful emotions and make them beautiful. But like, like at a wedding painting, like, like this is a gorgeous event in somebody's life, and like I'm capturing that like as a moment, and then they can hold that. But, so yeah, that's interesting though, that you allowed yourself the play of live, and like the texture and everything was very different for you. I would imagine that makes a lot of sense to me,
Yeah.
because that's just such a visceral experience as opposed to like when it's more controlled. And then you kind of maybe are able to tap in more into listening to other people, because like you're maybe not as used to being distracted by the tangible in a way,
Yeah.
maybe.
Well, and I think there's a certain openness that comes with it. And when you're not so concerned about what am I doing, what's
Yeah,
happening, like the
totally.
you don't get in your head as much, and you're able
Mm-hmm.
to be present
Yeah.
and then be responsive as a result of being present, I think.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 1,000%.
When you're at weddings and you're doing these live paintings, how much of what you're doing is like you have a plan, or you have something, say, sketched out, or you have something that's been requested, versus I'm kind of going in blank canvas and just what happens.
Painting has become popular now. So I used to approach it completely as like, let me go in and play art detective. I still approach it that way, but like now that people have more of a preconceived notion about things, I mean, it's a, like yin and yang,
Yeah.
there's great things about that. There's not, like, they're like, can you make sure you capture the first dance? And so of course I'm going to do that. But my goal when I'm at these weddings it's not just to capture a scene. Like I truly like to grab elements of the entire day. A lot of times I will put a little bit of the ceremony and a little bit of the reception in, and maybe a couple of things from the outside venue that or tangible things I see on the table that I'm like, that's important to them. So I really try to create a collage, but it's a cohesive piece. But I really want it to be, I want the piece of art to not only just be like a cool memory for them that grabs like all these different things and everything in there has meaning, but I also want it to stand on its own and be like a cool piece of art. So like I don't particularly, just this is just my personal liking, like just having a scene of a wedding to me is kind of like, okay, cool, we all know that, you can take a picture of that, you can make a painting of that, but I'm like, to have a twist of the dial and for it to truly tell a story and like have this kind of like a vibe. Like I want it to feel cool, Um, I really every single event that I do, and I mean, we can't we can't get, art is not math, and there's not like a right answer or wrong answer. It's like, and there's times where you got to just, I show up. I always give everything that I have. Like it's important to me. If I'm sticking my name on it, like I will give everything that I have. And so all of these paintings, when I go to an event, like I show up like, okay, what's special about them? What's special about this event? What's special? What's different? What's unique? How can I play with this? How can I make this a piece of art that's really powerful? Like, and so I'm not trying to just like grab a thing. Like, I want to, so yeah, and not to over romanticize it or anything, but no pun intended, because we're talking about wedding paintings anyway.
No, but I think you did a good job in describing that, because when I've seen your pieces like that, I get that sense. You've created like another world that's a combination of experiences and snapshots. It's not simply like, here's the scene that's before me, and I'm realistically creating whatever's there, and I think the layeredness to your paintings give a richness that people want to go like, I didn't see that before. Now I see that. What does that mean? Oh, what's the significance here? Which is cool, because then it invites people into something that's larger. It's not simply like I'm viewing it once and okay, I saw that. Let's move on. It causes you to linger a little bit more, which I think is a tremendous gift for those who end up receiving that and having that in their homes. Especially for a special day.
Yeah, it's really, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. It is really fun for me for people to be like, "Oh my gosh, you captured that. Oh my gosh, you put that in there." Like I love the like nuggets of that, but also like that they ask for one thing and I'm like, "Sure, I'll get it in there." But I'm also going to, and this becomes this like really, you know, like I like to under promise over deliver kind of thing, And but I also really just, it's exciting to me.
Yeah.
And so and I love that people, it means something. So yeah,
Yeah.
simple but great.
Yeah. How has your maybe approach or even art evolved over time? Because I imagine, like any creative, right? Like you do something long enough and the shininess kind of wears off, and you go like, I need to still be in love with this, especially if I'm
Mm.
doing this all the time. And how do I maintain it so I don't feel like I'm just pumping out widgets, but yet also maintain this sense of continuity so that people know what to expect, yet freshness? Have you wrestled your way through that?
This is a really good question. I think I'm in it right now, to be honest, because I have been doing live painting since 2008. So, and my style has evolved. I think I've grown as an artist. You know, I didn't have any training. It was really raw, but I was just doing it, and I think I have more understanding of my like the actual craft itself. But more than anything, you know, there it's an easy thing to like go, all right, I don't know what to do in this situation. I'll just fall back on Old Faithful. Like, let me do this move right now, right? So, you know, I think I keep trying to challenge myself and evolve in terms of ideas around the art in order to change it, but also like my skill set, obviously, but that kind of organically happens because you spend time doing a thing and you get better.
Right.
But in terms of concepts and ideas, like, I mean, I think things ebb and flow, you know, like, and sometimes I'm like, okay, I mean, I have ideas all the freaking time and it's a little exhausting, you know, and you're like, am I schizophrenic? Like, what's happening? But, so I think for me, or at least right now, I'm like, because I feel like I'm in a season where I'm kind of like, okay, where do I go? And so how I'm trying to help myself in this is like write everything down. And so it's tangible. It's not just in your head. I think that's number one thing. Like, uh, like allow yourself to play, which is interesting when you do something that you love and you play, like it's play. But you're right, like it can get like a thing that you're doing on repeat. I think it's just to how can I evolve this and to not get caught in the like, well, this is how I've been doing it. So like, you know, I've been working with different people, and that's it's interesting to hear people's take and go, instead of me instantly saying no, that's not how I do things, I'm like, I allow myself to go, okay, let me just take it in. It's not going to hurt me. Like, I'm not going to lose anything if I like have somebody else's idea and they're like, why don't you do it like this? And I'm like, so, you know, which is, and sometimes it's great and sometimes it's not. Like, you don't want to lose your voice. And like, but I think if you maybe the more you are seasoned in something, you realize like I have some ground here. Like I've built a thing, so like I am able to withstand a little wind if somebody like comes in and says I have another idea for you, and I'm like, and maybe there's a, you know, like that. It doesn't have to be black and white. Like maybe there's a piece I can take from it. So I mean, I right now in this even this conversation, I'm like, yeah, I need to be every single day. Like I've been saying this out loud, but I'm like, I need to be writing every single day to kind of figure out what's inside. So maybe that's the most helpful thing I can articulate for somebody and for myself is like, let me. I have to, instead of looking outside, look in and kind of go left and right and then play with that. Does that
Yeah.
make any sense? I feel like
Totally.
that was
Totally.
so
Yeah.
ADD.
No, 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 because there's the self-aware piece in there, right?
Yeah.
Because, evolution can be happening, and if you're not paying attention, you're not going to glean the benefits of actually understanding what's happening as it's happening or what's just happened, right? Like that sitting with it and going like, where am I? What's happening with me? Where do I want to be? Like the questions, the curiosity, sitting with all that stuff and allowing it to just kind of marinate a little bit more, I think sometimes is what we need, because so often it's the pressure of, I have a problem, I need a solution. Let's go already. Let's get to the end of this so that I can move on and be where I need to be. And yet many times it's the process of getting there that is actually the thing that needs to happen for it to shape us,
Yeah.
and that's the
Yeah.
uncomfortable part.
Yeah. I read something recently. It was saying like the process, you can't skip, it's everything you're just saying, but like you can't skip the pain is part of the process. The struggle is part of the process. Do not like try to escape it. But I mean, and so, and also like none of these things are frozen. The only thing that's frozen is the work that's done. And then you can't live in that. Like
Right.
being an artist is a verb. It's an active. So if you're not continuing to process and continuing to make and like in the journey of it, then you're not really an artist. You're not really doing the thing. So like, so like leaning on like, oh, I did this one time, right? I mean, who cares, But also like living is a verb, so it makes sense that it would echo that, right? So, and we can't fixate on this moment's gone, it's gone, and like that's the same with art and like creation. That brushstroke is gone now. It's not
Right.
yours.
Yeah. Which sometimes can be difficult because if you're a high achiever or you're driven to achieve,
Mm-hmm.
the hamster wheel of always next is the thing that can really exhaust you. And also, I think we talked about this previously offline, but it short circuits something in us that allows us to celebrate. Because while what we've done, we don't want
Right.
to live there, we want to rest there, but we also do need to learn to celebrate and go like, yeah, I made a promise to do something and I did it, or I did something hard. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do this as well, and I did it.
Mm-hmm.
Even small things, because when we're always looking forward to like what's the next thing, we're we're always looking forward, and we're never looking back. We're never measuring what has happened, the
Mm-hmm.
growth, the progress, and that's
Mm-hmm.
actually how we get encouraged, is to
Yeah.
know we are growing. There is progress. There is evolution. And that helps us stay in the game so that it's not
Yeah.
always this reaching for this elusive thing that we never get.
Yeah. Yes. I think I probably struggle a little bit with that. But also at the same time, like, yeah, it's just the journey is the process. Like, I mean, the not struggle, the struggle, the flow, the not flow, all of it is the process. All of it's art. Like Julia Cameron says, rest is a part of creativity. And like, I definitely took a big piece of that from that book, The Artist Way, like where, she talks about that. And I think it's really important. I used to have such a, um, and I mean, I maybe I'm doing it right now, like where I'm like, I feel the need to like constantly be doing something, even if I'm not doing it. Like I have this conversation going on in the back of my head, like you should be blah, 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 blah. And I mean, it's a little workaholism, but it, I think when you also love what you do, it's difficult. It's really, really difficult. And when you're excited about the next thing, that's difficult too. But it is really just as valid as the work, because if you don't take those moments, you're really like stealing the juice of that too. So, I think everything is balance. Like, the body needs, the right pH levels just exist, and I think so does everything else, otherwise it doesn't work. So yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that reminder.
It was a reminder for me too, believe
Yeah.
me. I
Yeah,
think it's
totally.
it's easy for that to slip away and for you to just get, so okay, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
One of the other things we've talked about previously is the idea of just art being a healing agent for ourselves, right? And do you actively pursue doing projects that are like just for you, where you're processing some maybe emotion or some things? And how do you balance that with the, okay, I need to do this because this is my livelihood, and you know what I mean?
I don't balance it very well.
Mhm.
It's the honest answer. Do I actively pursue that? Yes. It's in seasons, I will say that. I think some of my best work is probably when I'm in the most pain. I hate that, but I think it's the truth.
Artist, yeah.
And I don't want to gift this martyrism, because I think that there's a trap there too. But I do look at art as a tool for healing. And when I am struggling with something, I can tell where I am in the process by what I've decided to create. and it's very interesting. And when I am in the process of creating something that I'm working through, like I'm on the edge of getting out of it. Like, but it's manifested enough. I've come enough to acceptance where I'm like, okay, now I'm doing the thing and it's getting expressed, and it's like, and then you're almost in this other tunnel, and then once you get out of it, then you're like it's like you step into a different room and you're looking at something like somebody else's house or something from a window in this room, or you know what I mean? It's like almost not yours, and you're like, whoa, I can't believe that was a thing, you know? So yeah, I have pieces that I have a difficult time selling because of that. And when I get really, but I also don't need a shrine to myself, and I have a lot of paintings.
Yeah.
But it is a very different process, and I think it's important to have the pieces that you're doing for you to kind of, I mean, that's the reason why I started doing it. And I love doing it for other people, and I love serving in that way. Like, it makes me feel really good to be able to contribute. But I also, those pieces, when I'm doing those things, I mean, I think probably the, other than like somebody that's really emotional about a wedding painting, but the most visceral reactions I've gotten are from some of those pieces that I did when was in like working through stuff. So, and sometimes those are hard to show because like, I have this other thing, and then I'm like, but it used to not be as hard because I didn't have a business built around stuff. But now I'm like, oh gosh, yeah, well, I do this other thing too. And people are like, what? These don't even look like these paintings.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, and I think, I mean, it's definitely the core of who I am and why I do what I do. So I think it's important to continue like nurturing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really the thing that helps you probably not only process but heal and then evolve. And do you ever find that like something you've done in a personal painting like that has informed some of the other paintings that you've done in terms of live painting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of
Like,
course.
if you don't mind, like what way?
That's a good question. I mean, sometimes it's really difficult to articulate some of this stuff because it's all internal.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's places that you can go when you're allowing yourself to surrender and to, you're not performing and you're allowing yourself emotionally to go there. And I don't know, I feel like you kind of meet another level. This sounds so vague. And like you can, when you're going in, like I feel like you find another pocket of ideas or a pocket of techniques even sometimes because you're allowing yourself to explore, and maybe some of that emotion like allows you to get there, right? So you pull that out and then you can use it in other places without maybe having the rawness there. So yeah, and then it's interesting when I've created pieces that are a little bit more personal or darker or whatever. Like some of them I look at and I'm like, well, I don't, whoa, how did I come up with that? Because it's almost like another world. I think being able to tap into that consistently is, I think that's kind of an important piece in order to continue this, to have it have meaning. And I think it influences the live paintings and the paintings that I'm not as personal because they're still personal to me, but I have that channel or tunnel,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sounding really woo woo, but that I'm driving in and out and I have access to, and I beyond technique and beyond like the actual painting in terms of like what it is, I think there is something about somebody that decides to create on a consistent basis that has a channel or a voice that kind of, gosh, this is sounding so woo-woo, but I think there's something else going on in the pieces, and I think people feel it, whether they understand that cognitively or not. But I think there's something different about a piece of art when an artist is going to those places. And yeah, I think it's kind of, another realm or something,
Mm-hmm.
if that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
Totally. And because there's a connection. There's a connection to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that you practice that, the deeper you can go there and the quicker you can access it. Because I know, like, when I talk to people who are interested in coming back to their creativity in some way, like a lot of the struggle is around, well, like, I don't know when to do this. I don't know how to do this in a way that is consistent because I feel like I flirt with my creativity. I'm like, hey, how
Sure.
you doing? Like, you
Totally.
got a weekend free? Cool. Let's spend the weekend. But then they don't come back to it for like another couple of months. And then this time dissipates that connection. And then they feel like it's just off. It's not as accessible to me. Whereas if you have a practice where you are regularly engaging with it, whatever regular that looks like for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get into it quicker, you access those things quicker, and you're able to go deeper in those places because you are so connected. You're not breaking that with yourself and with the process. And I think
Yeah.
that shows, you know?
That's beautifully said. That's really well said. Yeah. I mean, it's a muscle, right? It's like anything.
Absolutely.
If you're working the muscle in the gym, like it's gonna be more fluid, you know. If you're not, but yeah, that's really well said. Yeah.
Thank you. When you're in the live situation and you're painting and you're feeling like, oh boy, this one is not happening the way that I want it to happen, because that happens to all of us. But
Mm-hmm.
what is your process then to go, okay, I need to pull this out because I'm getting paid for this and people expect something? Like, how do you navigate that space?
I kind of embrace those moments. I think from the perspective that I paint, I know that that's part of it. And it's part of the adrenaline. And a little bit, I kind of like it. I don't know, that makes no sense. But I tend to, when I'm in it, like, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of times where I've gone to events and I have been in like just broken up with somebody. And I'm like, all right, all right. And I'm like, well, and historically, like, I'm like, well, it's going to be a good painting tonight because I feel like crap.
Mm.
So sometimes when I'm in it and I feel that thing come up and I'm like, shit, I don't know, this one's gonna suck. And I'm like, there's instantly like a thing that clicks in my head where I'm like, oh, this is probably gonna be good because I'm freaking out. And so it like kicks up like another lever or something. You know, but I think it's part of the dancing in your head. I do feel like the reason, you know, like all that stuff is healing and it's the perspective you come with it. The reason why that perspective's there is because like there is something I know I have access to. um Even the paintings that I'm like uh eh, eh, I still feel like there's access in that. There's like something that channeled in it. Also, on repeat, I have been told paintings that I have been like, I don't know about that one. And then people are like, that one's your best one. And then the ones that I've been like, yeah, I fucking, yes, I crushed that. That was good. You know, and I'm like, that one. And then sometimes they're like, yeah, it's okay. And I'm like, what? So I just feel like genuinely focus on the channel, focus on like doing the thing, doing the work. And the rest is none of your business. It's truly none of your business. Get out of the way. And when I'm panicking, I'm like, part of it, use the adrenaline, use the fear. It's part of the juice. You know, I wish I could do this in other aspects of my life because I definitely don't. Like, I mean, and maybe that's you get one place in your life where you kind of like have some kind of understanding and zen and you can like kick it, and then the rest you're like, yeah, on your own. I mean, you know how it feels over here, just do it over here. And I'm like, no, how do I do it over there though? But that's, yeah, I mean, there's some kind of, yeah, it's a balance of like not believing it but also, or flipping it and utilizing it, embracing it, but also being like, yeah, it's part of the deal. So
Yeah. Yeah. The messy middle
the
as part of the
messy
process.
middle. Yeah.
And then also, I guess there's something to be said about at least you're feeling something and it's causing you to be actively engaged. Because I
Yeah.
think the worst thing would be to be lulled to sleep and bored, where you're just simply pushing a brush around and going like, "Is this over yet?" Like, you know what I mean?
I don't think that works that way. Not with what we're doing.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't think I'd be still doing it if that's how I
right,
felt.
yeah,
I think that is the kind of the thread there. I mean, I think I've had times where I've been overworked and I've been really exhausted and I'm like, oh my God. But there's still, you know, and if that's the case, if that happens, like hopefully I find another layer and like, you know, play, and I'm like, well, it's time to get more creative. You know, they say like bored people are boring. And I mean, if you're bored, then you're not doing something right because, you know, it's just like, or like people are like, well, what if you like run out of things to like paint or whatever? It's like, do you ever run out of things to say? Like, that's just, I mean, even if, so we always have life. So it's part of it.
Yeah. So last question for you, and if you don't want to get into too many specifics, that's fine. But in terms of next and evolution, what are some things that you're thinking about or contemplating, maybe like the next level for you, the next iteration of what you're doing, maybe something that you'd like to try that you haven't yet, or some other space you'd like to move into?
That is a great question. And you're right, I am a little phobic about saying too much about plans because I tend to have this, I don't know if it's superstition, but I think there's a truth to it. If you talk too much about what you're gonna do, like sometimes, unless it's actually like when you're like, whatever, I just feel like it's better to just be like, I did that as opposed to I'm gonna. I feel don't there's like studies that they show like if you talk too much about what you're gonna do, like there's some kind of dopamine release that you're getting. So then you don't have the pressure of actually like getting the thing. And I think it's super, super, super tempting as like a creative person to be like, I'm gonna do this thing and then, but having said all that caveat,
Yes.
yes, I do have things that I am looking forward to doing. Probably without getting into the details, like, I mean, it's evolving what I'm doing. I, and the thing is, well, even when I was like building this business paint your event, like I didn't really necessarily know where it was going to go and like how it was going to look. So, yeah, I mean, I'm very interested in travel and I'm very interested around capturing things in an international space. I have done some and I really enjoyed that. And I really enjoy different cultures. And so I want to play with that and see how I can marry kind of my experience of painting live and take it to another level and with, not just plein air, because I feel like that's like, but I don't know. I feel like playing with those concepts and seeing what kind of wild shit I can do. Like this time last year, I was in Switzerland. It was actually yesterday, a year ago, and I was painting on top of a mountain. And I hauled all of my art stuff up this mountain. It was insane. And I was like, what am I doing? And then I get up there and I'm like, it was like one of the coolest experiences I had. And like, it was a solo thing, but I had people coming up to me and like taking pictures, like people that were hiking and whatever. People sent me pictures. It was such a magical, beautiful, nutty thing to do. So I don't know. I don't know what that means exactly. There's a lot of creativity. The business aspect has to be just as creative as the creative. So, in terms of like trying to find a space for that and make that work, I feel like, I mean, this live painting thing has allowed a lot of artists to make a living doing painting, and which is amazing. And it's a freaking great way to make a living. So I just want to find another road. And I feel like if I can be a pioneer of sorts and find another space like that, I mean, why not? Obviously, I like cutting down trees and making my own path for some reason.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's part of creating too. It's
It
just
is,
creating your path.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Without putting words in your mouth, it sounds like very much similar to me, where you're looking to have some experiences and then create out of those experiences.
Yeah, yeah. But hopefully and not that, like I said, I'm going to talk about both sides of my mouth. And like, it's not just for me. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
hopefully it can create more for more people, like on the creative side and on the receiving side, and do something, So,
Becomes an invitation for people.
ooh, gosh, you're really good at the summaries. That's so good. Yes, invitation. Like you're good at just. I'm like, no, across the street.
Well, it helps being a speaker. So,
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
honing
no.
that stuff over time.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Also doing a weekly podcast, where I'm listening with people and
Yeah.
asking questions. Like you said, the more you do it, the better honed you get.
Do you feel
So
like you're a better listener from doing this podcast?
Absolutely. And I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I think I was a pretty great listener to begin with. Just from being a shy kid
Yeah.
who,
Oh, yeah.
wait for my turn to speak. And sometimes it never came because all the loud people around me, right? And
Yeah.
I never pushed myself to say, here's what I have to say. But the benefit of that was, like learning to listen and
Mm.
truly be with somebody when I'm with them and not be
Mm.
like looking over their shoulder, or is somebody more
Yeah.
important in the room, or like what time is it? My
Yeah.
notifications, all that stuff. That has been a gift. And I recognized that early on. And I said, I want to hone that gift to be
That's
even
awesome.
more valuable for me and more so for the people who I'm with.
I think that's probably one of the most beautiful, underrated qualities somebody can have is the ability to listen genuinely. I think and I feel like people aren't, even more so now, like it's difficult for people, but I don't think there's anything more honoring than somebody being able to listen well, you know? Like you're really like gifting somebody something, I think, when you choose to actively listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's why I love having these conversations.
Good on ya.
Well, we're at the top of our time, and I know we could talk all day, but if people are interested in seeing your art or hiring you to come in and paint live for them, where can people go?
They can go to my website, paintyourevent.com. I also do have my studio work and products, HeidiSchwartz.com. And of course, I'm on all the socials at Paint Your Event is my Instagram, and I Paint Your Event on Facebook and all the things. I'm out there. I'm pretty easy to find.
Yes. And you
Yeah.
do a great job at it, by the way. I think you do a good mix of like, here's what I'm doing in an event and live and stuff. And then also at home, messy hands, paint splatter, like whatever's happening, random thoughts.
Yeah.
It's always engaging. So I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for our time today.
Thank you. I appreciate you and your very good listening skills.
Thank you. Thanks for listening today. I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe, leave a rating and a review. It really helps this podcast be seen and heard by others.